not spending and not doing what they asked us to do. So that's my concern. Okay, so then let's vote on the budget. And we'll, oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
Just parliamentary question then is there an amendment on the table on the floor then or not? I don't think there is, right?
No, it wasn't a memo, it was more of a suggestion is the way I heard it.
Part of a discussion, right? We're good.
Is that okay?
That's fine. Yeah, we were on the verge of
A second on, or a vote on the budget?
I can do that.
Okay, all right. So we have a nomination and a second to recommend to the board approval of the budget as presented. So
Oh, yeah, I think I just did.
Dave did. Okay, thank you. Dave did. Okay, Rick?
Point of clarification, is that the budget with the 2 pages substituted?
Oh, yeah, forgot about that.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
As
Dave, is that
amended.
okay with you?
That's perfect.
As amended.
As amended, you bet,
Okay.
you bet.
Okay,
Thank you,
all
Richard,
right.
thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Got to keep it straight. All right, all those in favor of approving the 2026 budget as presented, as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Capital maintenance and public transportation contracts, City of Colorado Springs.
Good afternoon, Ryan Phipps, Capital Improvements Manager for the City of Colorado Springs. I have 4 contracts to present this afternoon, and then I have a follow-up information item. First contract is for the capital improvements and bridge asset management staffing. This is the staff augmentation that we use at the city to deliver all of our capital projects. This includes project management, project controls, construction inspection, administrative support for all of our PPRTA projects. LS Gallegos is the current contract holder. They were one of 3 proposals that proposed on these services back in 2022. This initial contract, or this first contract to present to you, is exercising the 3rd option year of their contract. And the city requests that the RTA approve this contract change order in the amount of $3,472,082. And this contract utilizes all of our funding sources, capital maintenance and transit. The second contract I have to present to you is a PPRTA 3 A-list project. This is for the Fillmore Street bridges. These are the bridges that are immediately east of I-25 over the railroad and over Monument Creek. Project was solicited back in 2024. 5 proposals were received. HDR was ultimately selected. They have been working on a PEL study, just planning an environmental linkage study. At this point, we're ready to step into the design development of that project. This particular contract seeks to execute the 30% level design for an amount of $649,838.50. And again, the city requests that RTA approve this change order.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question about the bridge geometry, and I don't want to get into details, although I would like to know, are they adding capacity simply?
There is a little bit of capacity being added to the bridge. We're in the alternatives analysis stage right now. The biggest, I think, capacity addition would be 3 lanes in the westbound direction rather than 2.
Okay.
Yeah, to help with the crunch there at the DDI.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was hoping to hear. It's a pinch point, and I think we need to do something to improve the flow through there. So
yeah, I think this project and what CDOT's currently working on between Fillmore and Garden of the Gods is going to make a dramatic improvement to that particular area.
It's a mess.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, does that make it easier to get into In-N-Out Burgers?
To where?
The work on Garden of the Gods,
Oh,
making a left turn right there into In-N-Out Burger is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. I'm sorry, but I don't, but I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm sorry. I was off the record. Oh, it was on the record, but it was off subject. Sorry.
all right. The third contract I have to present to you is a traffic engineering software contract. This is for Ride Report Micro Mobility Platform. This particular software provides heat maps of rider travel patterns, routes, origin, destination, and deployment of e-scooters. This helps facilitate overall traffic engineering solutions in the multimodal area. This is an add-on to a ShareWell or SourceWell contract in the amount of $48,400.
Can I ask a question while you're on it?
Sure.
So do you guys track, what's the name of the company that does the scooters downtown?
Lime?
Lime? Is that something you guys track, or is that their system, or is the volume and the movement of those things something you guys track in your mobility area?
Yeah, I don't know the exact details of that, but I understand that this particular software coordinates what they utilize so that they all talk together.
Okay. All right.
I make a comment?
Yes, Barb?
I just noticed as a news report that it talked about personal injury accidents continue to rise with that form of mobility. And I wonder if that's part of any assessments that are ongoing. Apparently, that's a national trend with these scooters, that there are more numbers of personal injury accidents and more severe accidents because of the speed that's entailed. So I just think as a city, we ought to investigate that a little bit more fully.
Yeah, this software allows us to see where those types of uses are around the city. Like I said, it gives like a heat map. So it helps us to pinpoint areas where safety improvements would need to be implemented.
So a guy, those little scooters that have the big wheel and you kind of stand on them, you
Oh.
lean forward to go fast and whatever they call those. I got passed on Nevada Avenue the other day doing 30 miles an hour, and a guy literally passed me on one of those things. And I'm going like, whoa, he's good. But anyway, go ahead.
A question, if I may, with the ride report micromobility platform, is that going to tie in with Pike Ride as well? Do you happen to know?
I don't think that this one specifically ties to Pike Ride. I think that that is a separate input into the overall system.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I wanted to ask, does this involve the coordination of stoplights and that sort of thing at all?
This one just provides data, so it would
It's data.
It's data so that it identifies where these patterns are.
Where the problem is.
Yeah, and so then we can look specifically at those intersections or at those lights and things of that nature.
Yeah, 'cause
It
when
informs decisions being made.
when I read this, I was going to ask if you couldn't expand on it a little bit, because I didn't understand exactly how this fit into the overall picture.
Yeah, it's part of the same set of data that traffic engineering uses with the streetlight system. Streetlight provides the vehicular data. This provides the multimodal data so that a more complete analysis can be done.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, next.
All right, the fourth contract that I have to present to you is for snow removal services. The city issued an RFP and we received 5 proposals. Brightview Landscape Services was actually the one selected. This is a 1-year base year contract with 4 option years. The contract itself is divided among traffic engineering, parking enterprise, and transit. So this will provide snow clearing at the ZEB stops, garage and surface light lots for parking enterprise, and then protected bike facilities for traffic engineering. And when I say protected bike facilities, I mean bike facilities that are behind delineators or on curb, things that are carrying the bike network that are not reachable by the standard plow system. That is the piece that is being requested for PPRTA funds. The contract itself is broken up into all those partners. There's specific locations of work being performed, and the traffic engineering piece, the protected bike facilities are the only piece that would be requesting PPRTA funds to support. That amount is not to exceed of $25,000, and the overall contract amount that we're requesting approval of is $100,800.
Mr. Chair, quick question.
Go ahead.
If I may, is it, and I'm all for snow removal. I'm absolutely a huge fan of maintenance and safe transportation infrastructure. I don't recall seeing a snow removal item in the past. Is this a new thing?
Yes.
It is. First time ever? Okay, so help me understand that, Rick. And again, I'm all for it. I just want to make sure because when I think maintenance of our infrastructure, I'm thinking pothole patching, paving, bridge replacement. I often tend to think of snow removal as more operations than maintenance. I'm splitting hairs. I don't know if that's significant, but because we're going into an uncharted territory here, I just like to be absolutely certain that we can use these funds for what's often designated operations versus maintenance. I may be wrong in the moniker or the designation. I just don't want to do something new blindly.
Larry?
Yeah, just a follow up for what Rick just said is I had looked back last year too, and I did not ever see this before. And I'm sort of with Dave, is it this is more of an operational thing? And does snow removal really fall under the purview of PPRTA? And as far as, actual maintenance, because I don't consider snow removal as being a maintenance item. As Dave says, it's more of an operational type thing. So should this really be covered by PPRTA or should it be covered by city operations budget?
And to add to that, why wouldn't Parking Enterprise be paying the city for those services versus RTA doing it?
Mr. Chair, I believe it is eligible, but I'll be glad to ask Board Attorney Jennifer Ivy to review it and comment before the board meeting next week.
And a general snow removal question for the large parking areas, are they CDOT? Those things, do we remove snow from them? And if so, does CDOT reimburse us for those or they take care of it? Cause I know they get cleared, but is that city responsibility or?
I mean, with every city and state facility, we have a maintenance agreement between the city and the state. This particular contract is specific to city assets. So the parking garages, it's the frontage outside of each of the parking garages and the surface lots. That's all being funded through the parking enterprise account codes. The ZEB is specific because they're not covered by Transit's current snow removal services for transit stops. And then again, the only piece that we're requesting PPRTA support for is the protected bike facilities. And I think Rick has a plan there for providing a little bit more detail on operations versus maintenance. But I think it's important to make sure that our bike facilities are maintained and operational. You see what happens whenever snow piles up on the side of the road and essentially makes those facilities unusable for a period of time. And so this would ensure that the bikes are able to continue to use the facilities that have been designated for them through, the continuous operation of the wintertime rather than being held up until ice and debris have been removed through other means.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Question, how has this snow removal been paid for in the past?
I don't want to speak with certainties, but I don't believe that this has been specifically addressed in the past.
When you say it hasn't been specifically addressed in the past, you mean it was never plowed before if we had a snowstorm?
Yeah, we have not typically had plows clearing bike routes and things of that nature that were protected. Again, if it's a street that has bike lanes that are protected through just the paint themselves, that's accessible by a normal snowplow. But if it's behind any sort of protection like a delineator, or if it's elevated on a curb or things of that nature where it's a designated bike route, plows don't hit those areas. And so we need a way to clear those areas so that they continue to be accessible as a transportation option for those that use bikes.
But like I say, in the past
Yeah.
1 year, 10 years, we've had a lot of those bike lanes and that out there before. So they were never plowed, and so the snow just built up on them if we had a storm.
Yeah, so that was, you answered my next question. Give me an example of what a protected bike facility is. And so it's ones that have a physical delimiter between the traffic and the bike lane.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Carlos would know the answer to that, but he's not here to ask the question.
So
Sure.
a perfect example, if I may, Mr. Chair, is
As a bike rider yourself.
Pikes Peak Avenue, where it's a parking protected bike lane. So there's delineators as well as parked cars. And to the point, in the past, as a cyclist, it snows and you end up riding in the road with all the cars amongst ice and everything else, which is even more dangerous. So it's very important for this to be done. You know, how it gets paid is another question.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, when I read this, I kind of agreed. I'd never seen it before, and I thought maybe I was being a little overcritical. But I'd like to have it separated out because I won't be voting for it. So I'd like to have it separated out the package.
Okay.
And we have it.
Mr.
Yeah, question, go ahead, Jeff.
Mr. Chair, I'm Jeff Snelling. There's an argument to be made because of the freeze-dry cycle when you have snow events that you actually prolong your pavement conditions by the removal of snow, and that's concrete and asphalt. So that's something that, you know, has been studied, and there is an argument to be made that that has value in the system and prolonging it.
Yeah, so I agree with the personal safety aspect of doing it. And so we have is that a motion to pull it out?
Well, yeah, I would say if that's a motion, I'd like to second that. And maybe to Larry's point, the old saying is just because we can doesn't necessarily mean we should. So I guess where I'm going, Larry, you raised an excellent point about the enterprise fund nature of this thing. I'll be probably voting against this with Rick as well, mainly because it's still bundled with the enterprise fund. If there's parking money collected for it, and they can happily do other things, or they can tap the PPRTA. I'd rather see them use the money that are intended to use to maintain the parking system. So I specifically will be voting against it, if only to vote no on the parking system piece, which is kind of Larry's point. The broader question, I think, may be still, is it legal at all? And I'm not sure and I completely agree, Jeff. You're absolutely right. Snow sitting on pavement will deteriorate it faster than probably anything known to mankind. But this may be a bit of a splitting hairs. The way the PPRTA was written, in a very narrow sense, is snow removal and authorized use of money, which are often considered maintenance. Doesn't mean maintenance. This is not maintenance. It may be. I'm just not an expert on how the PPRTA defined legally maintenance and if there's a distinction between operations. So I'll be voting no, but mainly because the parking system is tied to it.
Okay,
I've got another question. I have another question is the reason why this is showing up now for 2026 because of the budget shortfall that the city has? So they're trying to find other ways to pay for this by coming to PPRTA for it?
No, I think the reason that we're bringing it forward is because we have more of these protected bike facilities. And so there's a need to maintain them.
But again, I guess, as Dave says, this is more of a operational thing, which I would think would fall under the preview of the city of Colorado Springs operations budget and, you know, not a maintenance item as indicated on the cover sheet for it.
okay. So my question to the group, Ed, did you have something you want?
I did.
Go ahead.
Could Rick repeat his motion before we vote? Because I want to make sure I'm clear on it.
I made a motion to select this out of the package so they can be voted on individually.
Okay.
What's the word that
Take a separate vote on this.
That is correct.
bifurcate,
Chair.
yeah.
Mr.
Go
Chair,
ahead.
this is Tony Joya.
Go ahead, Tony.
The comment that was just made that we have more of these protected lanes now, or protected areas for the bicycles. With the planning for those protected lanes and stuff, I assume, budgets for those were taken into account when the planning was done and implemented. Is that correct?
Right,
I mean, maintenance is always a consideration for those types of safety features. One of the struggles we've had is just our own maintenance crews acquiring the types of equipment necessary to clear out those smaller areas. And so it's more cost effective to contract out those services, especially when it's, something like snow removal, which happens a handful time of year versus something that's an all the time type of activity.
I understand the cost effectiveness and, we need to get it done. But if that was not put into the plan in the first place when they were being implemented, and now it's being passed off on PPRTA because it was not put into the city's budget for this, I don't see how that makes a lot of sense at this point.
okay, so the question, go ahead, I'm sorry, Phil.
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, so just a clarification on Rick's amendment. So this, when you said pull this out, I'm assuming you're saying C12-539, the Brightview Landscape Service contract, not the line item within that contract, correct? The whole snow removal services contract. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I apologize. Yes, David, you mentioned, and maybe a little bit of a clarification, is what is encompassed in this enterprise fund? You mentioned an enterprise fund, and I know once you establish that, you have to be very careful with how those funds are used, what can be supplemental to those funds. Can we get a little bit of a clarification on that as well?
Yeah, the financial information table that's on that second page identifies the parking enterprise funds, either for the lots or for the garages. So when a task is completed at a parking enterprise facility, like their garage, clearing the snow out front of each of those garages or clearing the surface lots, those get charged to the parking enterprise. They're identified, like the task is tied to each separate entity that would be funding those sorts of things. So the parking enterprise isn't going to be paying for transit or traffic engineering responsibilities or vice versa.
Great, thank you.
All right, so the question now kind of boils down and listening. They're all really good questions. And it is first time, so it's good that we're having this conversation and not doing it just carte blanche. What if the lawyer comes back and says it's legal and it's all done? Because this is more than just a parking enterprise. And so what if the lawyer comes back and says this is a legal expenditure? What I'm hearing is that while it might be legal, we question whether it should be versus just traffic operations kind of responsibility. So am I digesting what everyone's saying correctly?
Mr. Chair, I'm just looking at it from the standpoint that I think that it might be legal, but I don't think it's PPRTA's responsibility to pay for it.
Okay.
I concur with Rick, maybe even amplify it a step further. And bad pun intended, it's a slippery slope, literally. That once we get, I told you it's a bad pun intended, that the city can use, I'm guessing, another 26, I'm making that number up, snowplows citywide. Pick a good number. And it seems that the city has actually decreased the number of plows over the years, while the system increases in size. And so I know they're falling behind. I know it's a significant problem, and this is the first bite at the apple for using PPRTA funds for snow plowing. This is probably a bigger issue than simply a little $100,000 contract. There could be millions at stake here in the future because we've authorized it this afternoon.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Tony again here.
Go ahead, Tony.
That's kind of the direction I was going on my question as well, is that where city transportation has wanted to expand a lot of different types of multimodal transportation and make it more accessible, but it doesn't seem like the plans, when they are actually putting them together, are taking the full budget necessary for those plans into consideration. And so when it comes up after the fact that, oh no, we forgot something, they are thinking of PPRTA as almost a slush fund for that. And again, there's your bad pun for that, slush here, right? So that's my concern as well.
Go ahead, Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I mean, this is $25,000, so it's a fairly small amount, and it does set precedent, but we spend a lot of time on a pretty small dollar amount, but it feels like if we vote this down, the city's probably going to come back and ask for larger capital expenditures for specialty plows to fit the bike lane width, and we're going to end up spending more PPRT money for the same result, so.
Okay. Rick went upstairs to get the PPRTA statute from the state. So we'll, so
Mr. Chair, the amount I don't think is an element because last month, we talked about $600 being important. So no matter how big or how small this is, it's our responsibility to look at it as important.
no, I don't disagree with any of the comments or conversations that we've had. And it's a good conversation to have, especially the first time we see something that we need to bounce this off, because it goes back to our public commitment. We've got to be able to answer to the citizens on this regardless of the amount. And so this is a good conversation to have. So why don't I suggest this? Rick's got the statute. He's going to look. Have you already looked it up, Rick, or you need to look?
I can read the whole thing. It's almost a page. It's definitions of what's eligible. But it's not broken down. Okay. Regional transportation system means any property, improvement, or system designed to be compatible with an established state and local transportation plans that transports or conveys people or goods, or permits people or goods to be transported or conveyed within a region by any means. But not limited to an automobile, truck, bus, rail, air, or gondola. Term includes any real or personal property or equipment or interest therein that is appurtenant or related to any property, improvement, or system that transports or conveys people or goods, or permits people or goods to be transported or conveyed within a region by any means, or that is financed, constructed, operated, maintained in connection with the financing, construction, operation, or maintenance of any such property, improvement, or system. Term may also include, but is not limited to any highway, road, street, bus system, rail, airport, gondola system, or mass transit system, or any real or personal property or equipment or interest therein used in connection therewith. Is that good enough? Do I need to make a copy and put it on the screen, or get hard copies for everybody?
Hey, I mean,
Do I need to go over it again?
it sounds like it covers it. And so that doesn't, and the other thing is that, you know, we're just making a recommendation based on our discussion. The board has the right to override us and approve it. Ryan has the opportunity to address these concerns at the board meeting. But it doesn't take away the uncertainty that we have in terms of whether this should be a city public works operations budget or it should be part of RTA.
I have another phrase that I didn't get to. And paving, grading, landscaping, curbs, gutters, culverts, sidewalks, bikeways, lighting, bridges, overpasses, underpasses. Anyway, the bikeways caught my eye.
Okay. So
Mass transit lanes, park and ride facilities, toll collection facilities, service areas. I think I'm done.
all right.
Well,
Any
I would
comment?
like a copy. Yeah, for those of us online, if nothing else, if Rick could email it out to all of us so we have it, I'd appreciate it.
Brandy wants to see what you just read. All right, Brandy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other conversation? Yeah, go ahead.
And so I guess I'll probably be voting no on this as well. I think of it similar to if you add a through lane for vehicles, is PPRTA going to be on the hook to cover plowing for that? Just because you added some additional capacity, it's similar to a bike lane. It's additional width. And so I think the city ought to plan for actual maintenance or operational maintenance of those kinds of facilities. So if you add a lane, the city ought to plan to plow that lane. Similar to the bike lane, the city ought to plow that bike lane, and it shouldn't be PPRTA's responsibility throughout the duration of the life of the projects.
Okay, that's a good argument. Ryan?
I don't have anything to add at this point.
All right, so what do you want to do? You want to pull it out, bifurcate it, whatever that word is, and vote on it separately, or just voice our concerns?
I would like to vote it down.
I think we should have a separate vote on
Okay.
item number 4.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it earlier, but is this something that Ryan can bring back next month after we get a definitive ruling from legal and just pull it out now and bring it back next month? Well, we might miss one snow, but
Okay,
This contract anyways, we can still approve it next month, right? It doesn't kick in, we won't kick it back. This is a January 1 contract start date, right?
It would be from as soon as we executed the contract,
Okay.
and we were really excited to get this contract in place before it snowed for the first time, but
I understand.
yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so again, the board could reverse our recommendation, and so it may turn out. So, so I have someone make Rick's already made the motion. Dave, you second it
I do.
to bifurcate this from the list of projects. So let's vote on that first. As all those in favor of doing that, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All those that didn't vote? Me. All right, so we'll extract this one from the list of 4 of the contracts that were presented, and we'll vote on it separately. First of all, there's an informational item I would like to present.
the informational item is just following up on a contract from last month, the 8th Street project. We presented it with a not to exceed amount and a contractor to be determined. This was for the 8th Street project, and we are just presenting the memo as filled out with those numbers in it. So we have a contract with HEI Civil in the works, and the value of that contract will be $9,621,155.55, which is less than the not to exceed amount that was approved last month at the PPRTA board meeting. And then also the PPRTA contribution is also less than the not to exceed amount. We're utilizing $3,534,986.10, which is also under the not to exceed amount that was authorized by PPRTA last month.
Okay. Any questions? All right. So we voted on to extract it. So the first vote be on items would be 7A, the first three contracts the city has presented. Do I have a motion to go, Kathy?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to extract that first item as well and vote on it separately, as I don't support paying for staffing out of capital maintenance and transit dollars.
Bridge assistant manager. Don't we already paid for contractors? The city, a lot of the RTA work is done by contractors, right?
We do, but I don't support that. So I'd like an opportunity to vote accordingly.
Okay. Do I have a second to extract item number 1? Okay. All those in favor of extracting item 1 from the list as well? Aye. All those opposed? Not hearing one. Okay. All right. So I'll amend, I hear a motion to vote on the city's projects number 2 and 3.
I move a positive recommendation for items 2 and 3.
Okay, have a second, Barb? Second? Okay, all those in favor of approval of the city's number 2 and number 3 contracts, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, let's take item number 1. Do I have a motion to,
This is the software, right?
Excuse me, huh?
So this is the software, just so we're clear.
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment before we vote on this one?
Sure, Brandy.
There's a reason that we do project management this way. When this was advertised to the community 20 years ago, the community and even the people who put this together were adamant about not growing government. So there was a cap on the amounts of money that can be spent of these funds for the city. So without spending PPRTA dollars on outside contractors, there's no money to manage these projects. So this is set up exactly how it's intended. Rick has done an excellent job of managing it. The city's done a great job of not growing government. And the reason this contract exists is because how PPRTA was set up initially. So I'll admit I'm a little bit confused because it's contrary to everything about how this was, set up and the longevity of it and not growing government. So I just want everybody to be aware that this is exactly what we expected when this came to pass, and we knew this was going to happen, but we didn't want to have more employees on para. We didn't want to increase other additional costs to the city, to the county, to all the other entities. So this is how it was agreed that these projects would be managed. So I don't want that to be forgotten in this process.
Thank you, Brandy. Good point, and I agree with you. Okay, so we've got a motion to vote on contract number 1, contract services for capital improvement and bridge management asset staffing. So all those in favor of not approving, or excuse me, let me vote. All those in favor of approving contract number 1 as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed to approving contract number 1?
Oh, that would be me, nay.
All right.
And actually, it's my understanding that when this was initially put together, that the city asked for funding for staffing, and the board told them that that was not included in the ballot language. And the next question was, can we use contractors? And it's my understanding that that vote was not unanimous. So everybody was not on board with that.
Go back to 2004 and those brain cells have died.
You can always can't call Dan Stewart. He'll tell you how he set it up.
All right. Okay, so the next question would be to vote on snow removal services contract. So all those in favor of approving the city's snow removal services contract as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I see that as 3. All those opposed to approving it, say nay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so that's passes. Any other questions on the city's contracts, item number 7A? All right, very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, did we have a count on that last vote?
I did not. It was 3. It sounded like it was 3 yeses and the rest were no's.
3 to 14.
3 to 14, Joni.
Okay,
And
thank you.
again, a point of clarification, shall I ask the board attorney for an opinion?
Yeah, I think what you read in the PPRTA, I mean, the RTA statute covers it, but wouldn't hurt to ask, I guess.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea between now and the board meeting to get an opinion from Jennifer, as far as this goes also, so that you can present that, to the board.
Yeah. Okay, will do.
Okay. All right. All right. Item number 7B, Josh.
Good afternoon, Josh Palmer, County Engineer. The county has just one item for your consideration today, and this is directly related to the internal process that we have at the county whenever we extend contracts past the end of the fiscal year. So this is just a renewal of all of our on-call contracts for all of our vendors. These contractors, vendors, consultants have all been previously approved to be on our on-call contract list. Some of them are providing services for current PPRTA projects. Most of them are just pre-approved vendors on this list. So all of the contracts have previously been approved by PPRTA. So we're just asking for consideration to approve an extension into the next fiscal year for these on-call contracts.
How often do you compete these?
Every 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
So I think we are in our third year, completing our third year. Chances are we will go back out because we're looking to make some significant changes to our on-call program next year. So we may get through the 4th year and then re-advertise.
Okay. Yes, Carl?
Josh, if you wouldn't mind clarifying, the first part of that list shows a contract amount range of 150 to 500,000. So is that a minimum 150,000 for each of those vendors? And then the list below goes 0 to 150. So
yeah, so we have 2 on-call programs, threshold. So 0 to 150 you could get a contract for on-call services for a contract from 0 to 150, or you could get one for 150 to 500. So any vendor who wants to do business in our on-call program would submit for one or the other, or you could do both, I guess. So if we had a design project that we estimated would cost $300,000, we would go out to all of the vendors who are listed in that 0 to 150 or 150 to 500 range and ask for. So yeah,
it's a range of contract, not a guarantee that each of these gets
no money. Yeah, no money. It's just this. You have been pre-qualified to perform services in a specific category for a specific range.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, good point. Thank you. Go ahead.
So following on to that, so that means this is the size of the individual contracts, and this is not a cumulative value for the total contract period.
It's a range, it's a limit, threshold limit that contract or that vendor could expect to receive a contract for. So you would, generally speaking, if you had a contract to perform traffic control in the 150 to 500 range, you would not receive a contract for less than 150 or more than 500. But until a contract is, we would send out a request for quotes from anybody who's listed in that category. we would go usually with the lowest quote, and then we would issue a contract for whatever the dollar amount is within that range.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
many of them have submitted a request in both categories, AECom, Terracon, some of the others.
Oftentimes they will, yes.
Okay, all right. And go ahead, Dave.
Just related clarification question, Josh, and I'm all for this. I'm going to vote for it. Help me understand then, are these largely in the second of 5 years, the fourth of 5 years? These are renewals, so they're not in the first year, obviously. Just help me understand, frame this for me a little bit.
So we're finishing up the third year of our, so it's I believe we do a 3-year contract with 2 1-year renewables. So it'll be 3 years with possible renewal for a fourth and a possible for a fifth. Historically, we've gone all the way through 5 years just because it's a pain. You know, it's hundreds of hours of work each time we resolicit on call. So generally, we take advantage of the full 5 years, but a vendor who is approved for an on-call contract would be pre-approved for a minimum of a 3-year period.
So for the bulk of them, this is the midpoint, the third of 5 years,
Correct. Yeah,
generally speaking,
correct.
with the 3 + 1 + 1.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank
we
you.
would expect to renew at least for another year, possibly for the final and 5th year.
Okay.
But yeah.
So we'll probably see these next year.
Yeah,
And-
you'll see these every year regardless, because our internal procurement and contract process requires reapproving a contract, even if the project itself goes multiple years. So we're not adding money to a contract. We're not adding scope to a contract. All we're saying is we are going to renew your contract for the next year, the
Gotcha.
on-call contract.
Great work. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
just real quick, as I understand, then this is, a vendor can receive a contract multiple times, but it has to be within that dollar amount, right, window?
Correct. Yeah. So this means that you can only receive, the contract amount has to be within this range per contract. So you could receive multiple contracts, even in the same task, for $500,000 each, but that means you're generally limited to $500,000 per contract.
So this is a limit on contracts, not on vendors. Not on the vendor.
Well, it's both. Yeah.
I mean,
It's a limit on the vendors and their associated contract limits.
yeah, but a vendor can, get multiple contracts within this, price range.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Josh?
There'll
Okay.
be abstentions, I presume. I'm not one of them, but I presume that there may be individuals in this group that.
I don't know.
Not necessarily
Oh.
that, but I do have to recuse myself.
Okay. Anybody else need to recruit yourself?
Chair, I'll recuse myself as well because my wife works for one of these companies.
Okay. You have
Yes,
any
I
other-
also have to recuse myself.
Who is that?
Steve Murray.
Yeah, Steve, I saw your company on there. Okay. All right. Thank you all for that. Do I have a Rick?
How many total recusals are there then? Is 3 or 4? Dave?
3.
Yep.
No.
I counted 3.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the county's contract?
Larry Tobias, I move that we approve agenda item 7B as presented by Josh concerning the contracts as listed in item 7B.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll
Kathy?
second. Okay,
Okay, all right.
Kathy, go ahead.
We'll give it to you, Ed. You hadn't had one yet. All right, all those in favor of approving the county's contract as presented? Aye.
Aye.
All, any opposed? Okay, all right. Carries. Thank you, Josh. All right, item 7C, anything for Manitou, Green Mountain Falls, Calhoun, or Rama? Oh, got City Manitou.
Just to clarify, we did not receive any walk-on, so-called late arrival or walk-on items for City Manitou Springs, down at Green Mountain Falls. 7C, D, E, and F, we did not receive any late arrivals, so you can pass by those and go to 8A.
Okay. So
We're gonna do 7C.
No, there isn't anything for 7C.
Okay.
It'd be 8B.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, I'm sorry, so let me explain what we did here. Based on your discussion, and we'll come about this in a minute, but you see all the member governments are listed as necessary. This was to address the issue of pre-notification, the 24-hour thing, and address the walk-on issue. The lawyer suggested just putting these on as necessary. And that way, if there is a walk-on inside that 24-hour limit, it's been pre-published that we might discuss it. So that was kind of the legal way to get around that. If you will.
I'm sorry, let's say it one more time. So the attorney is creating policy for us?
No, she's suggesting a way to stay within the 24-hour notification thing by putting this on here. So we're going to come to that down here in a minute,
Okay.
as we get to it. But just kind of an explanation of what you see on your agenda.
And what that is, Dave, is her, taking your concerns from last month's meeting and taking it into account as to how we can handle those items if necessary. And that's why she came up, with this, is that as I understand it, we will see this every month from now on, is that we will list each one of these cities or entities, and if necessary, if necessary, so if they don't have a walk-on item, like we just pass on and we don't do anything with it. But it does cover, some of your concerns from last month.
Thank you. That's an approach. I'm not sure I understand or agree with it, but
We'll
it's
get
one
into
way of
more
doing that. Yeah, we can
discussion
talk
when we
later
get
about that.
item, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, so let's move to item 8A. Transit services. Lan, you're up.
Thank you, Chair. Line Rail Transit Division Manager, Mountain Metro Transit. In your packet is Transit's monthly report, reporting on the ridership from September. It is common that right after the zero fare program, the ridership dropped, and this year is no different than previous year's observation that the ridership that we saw that really increased during free fare did not stick around. So it is consistent. The good news is our van pool program, we were able to carry a lot more rides last month compared to same time last year. We have also received reports that our van pool vans are significantly impacted by this government shutdown. We have a lot of riders who are working for the government, and during the shutdown, we have received a request to pause their program. So we'll keep monitoring that situation and see if things change. Under the transit highlight section, we included an analysis. Basically, this is what we have been doing in the last couple years. Once we make improvements or changes to transit routes, stops, yes, we have 2 service changes each year. We go back and review, okay, since the change isn't working, do we need to tweak what we changed? Are we receiving positive feedback? So this is the change that we made spring this year, 2025. We implemented this spring service change on Route 4. Route 4 travels from the downtown bus terminal to the Broadmoor Hotel through Cimarron Street and South 8th Street. We have received a lot of requests prior to the service change from customers and also from our data analysis indicating this is the top route for increased frequency. So we increased the weekday frequency from 60 minutes to 30 minutes. And you can see all the detailed information that we included in there. Normally, it takes about 18 months, 18 to 24 months to see whether or not a new service is really working. Since this is adding frequency on the existing route, so we figured this is a good time to take a look at it. So overall, the ridership has been increasing, slight improvement on-time performance, but the trips per hour has declined. It is very common to see that once you increase service level before people really get used to this higher level of service. So we'll continue to monitor that. The following two items are something that I did update the CAC on last month. Here's just the report back. Details on the two awards from CAS that we received, as well as the PPSC community town hall meeting that we co-hosted with PPSC. We had over 50, and one person reported maybe close to maybe more than 70 participants who stopped by the tables, and they put their origin destination on the map, and we saw people connecting, going to PPSC Rampart campus come from all over the city. So there was not one obvious location, so which actually is consistent with a commuter-based college travel pattern. So our consultants are gathering the information, compiling them. We asked for a lot of questions from the hub location to the amenities, what they're looking for, what they're hoping for, safety considerations, and there were really a lot of good comments that we received from the students, staff, and faculty at PPSC.
And they could catch this bus anywhere in the system, not just have to go downtown.
Correct.
Okay.
That's my update. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Lan? Gray?
Yeah, when you make a change to the frequency, particularly increasing the frequency, how do you get the word out to potential riders that change has been made?
That's a great question. We have, of course, the Federal Transit Administration required steps that we have to follow. But now with social media, you cannot just follow one traditional method. So we do, after all the public processes that we go through, we put them on the buses at stops, on social media, and we also have press release. So multiple different channels that we put out.
Dave?
Two things. Congratulations on your increase in ridership in September. I presume that's the highest ever, or very good news regardless. So there's a lot of hard work. Good on you. Keep up the great work there. A question I had, though, was about the federal budget shutdown. I know you folks take millions of dollars from the feds, from the FTA, to help with the operation of the system. Totally understand. I support that. I get that. With the shutdown, are you seeing any interruption in federal funds to the agency?
Not immediately. There are many different federal government agencies who receive different funding from the feds, and Federal Transit Administration is currently operating, and they're still open.
Oh, they are.
So we are seeing work moving forward, continue to move forward. Short term, we're not seeing a lot of immediate impact, especially on grants that have been obligated. Longer term, we don't know.
Mm-hmm. Refresh my memory, the total millions a year you get from the feds that may be subject to this government freeze and shutdown, how many millions?
Not currently.
I'm sorry?
Not currently. We are receiving our formula grants.
Just roughly, what's the magnitude of the federal funds you get every year?
Our formula grant, we are looking for a dollar amount?
Just roughly, yeah. Is it 5 million, 10 million? It's probably somewhere in that range, right?
Around 10.
About 10 million a year.
For the 5307. I mean, give and take, depending on all the formula input, between 10, 11, sometimes could be 12, sometimes could be 8.
So about $1 million a month-ish.
It's significant. It's
government shut down for a month. So you're not seeing any interruption yet that's impacted it. But to your point, we could be sitting here in February, hopefully not. And now you're 5 months into the fiscal year and 5 million in the red. $1 million a month that doesn't come through. Worst case,
longer term.
hypothetical worst case. Thank you. We'll be on the lookout and hopefully we'll get this fixed before we get to that point where you need to come to sustain your operations, because I'd be all for that. Thank you. I just wanted to understand there is maybe a loose connection between the federal budget shutdown and ultimately an impact on your operating budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lan, I got a
Mhm.
question, and it's more of a general nature, not about your report. Congratulations to your employees and the outreach that you're doing to do this. But when I read through this, it raised the question, with the expansion that's going on, that has been going on for many years, of the city, east, north, and to some degrees to the south a little bit, but I look at areas, I was over near St. Francis Hospital, and I look at all the growth that's going on out in that quadrant out there. And there's one bus that runs up Tut Boulevard to the hospital and turns around and comes back down. And then I remember when they started that route, it was also a route that a lot of riders use because they're in the service industry and they work out on Powers Boulevard or somewhere in that quadrant. And so it was a lot of that. What is transit doing to query or question the population on whether or not, if they had it, would they use it? If transit was available, would they use it? I know there's a lot of soccer moms and people that are driving people, soccer parents that are driving people around all over the place and this, that, and other, but there's such a large expansion in that upper northeast quadrant. And yet there's absolutely no service whatsoever. And with the focus on the government and the state and everybody to reduce emissions and not fund roads because they want to build a train that goes from Lamar to Denver or something. What are we doing to query and find out whether there's a need or a demand for transit?
Maybe three ways. One is through surveys. We included non-transit riders in our long-range transit plan survey. We also plan to get input from beyond just current transit riders during our alternative service that I mentioned last month during this process. So survey is one way. A second way is to put some level of service out there, probably likely less than fixed route bus, meaning an alternative service or deviated fixed route or on demand to gauge that demand. There are pros and cons of doing either way. Are you paying consultants to get data, then hoping it will work? Or are you putting out a service and gather some maybe more reliable data, but risk down the road you do not have sustainable funding to maintain that service? The third way is through requests, people calling in, people putting it on social media or just our community events that we basically hear from customers or non-customers. So those are ways to do it. Out east specifically was recommended in our follow-up express bus network following the long-range transit plan. It is recommended. Comes down to funding level. We are moving forward with our first express route using the state funding Academy. That's part of this PPSC partnership coordination, also serving Academy corridor. And some of the comments we received is having that on-demand service or on Academy is actually closer to Powers corridor. So we are looking at implementing the express bus first, but also looking at on-demand through the alternative service recommendation on what that model looks like. The on-demand service is, again, lower level than fixed route, but it is a good way to connect those two zones on either side of Academy Express to gauge demand and potentially expand.
Okay, because you brought it up in the explanation. I keep thinking, is is the 10% transit allocation enough? Because you're going to reach a limit to what you can do with your current funding, and we won't be able to expand our services with the current funding. So I don't need, we're not making a decision, but I'm just curious, is that sooner or later, if the demand is there, you're going to need more money. The community will need more money to provide those services. And so that would necessitate, in my mind, a change in the percentage of allocation that you might get, which would cut down roads or other kind of things, or we'd have to have some other means to provide you that revenue that you need to do those services. So that's kind of where I was coming from when I read this, and I see congratulations on keeping and not dropping and picking up routes and that kind of thing. That's all great. But I just see that there's a very large unserved population in the community now, and I was just curious. So, thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Lan? Okay, thank you, Lan. 8B, Manitou request for advance allocation of 1.2 million from RTA capital reserves. Hi, Karen.
Hi, I was a little anxious to get up here earlier, so thanks for waiting for me. So I hope this will be a quick agenda item. I am Karen Rowe. I'm the PPRTA representative for the city of Manitou Springs. However, I do also have 3 people here from the city of Manitou Springs. If there's additional questions you have for me, I have Denise Howell, Ben Schmidt, and Felix Lopez. Felipe Lopez. And so what this is the city, I gave some background. It's a request for recommended approval from you for an exemption to policy number 7. So I came to you earlier this year and said, hey, Lovers Lane is an urgent need of repair. So they got that done. $350,000 for that temporary repair. Meanwhile, we said, well, we also have Roxall Engineering Group working on the temporary repair as well as the long-term repair. So now Roxall Engineering Group has come back and said, we think the permanent repair to make sure the Lovers Lane wall, which holds up Lovers Lane along Fountain Creek, that permanent repair will cost about $2.4 million. That includes construction and design and money remaining. So the city wants to do this work when the water level's low. So that would be starting next fall and into next spring. So the construction work would be from 2026 into 2027, but it's going to cost $2.4 million. The city of Manitou Springs gets approximately $600,000 in capital funds. This year it was a little less. Next year it's a little more. And again, it is expected to go up, but I just use 600,000 as an estimate. So in order to get that 2.4 million, they're requesting advance allocation from PPRTA capital reserves. So I have this in my memo. What policy number 7 says, and I have it highlighted and it's an attachment that says borrowing from the reserve. Funds borrowed by a member government within the categories of transit, capital, and maintenance must be repaid or deducted from the budget within a year from the time the funds are spent. So if we assume this work will be half in 2026, half in 2027, we're assuming the funds are spent in 2027. So if we were to follow policy number 7, they would just get advanced 2028 funds. However, they're saying we'd like a little bit more. Can we go into 2029 funds, capital funds, in addition to 2028? Now, I outlined in my memo why this is low risk. The PPRTA and Manitou Springs would be able to repay that advance allocation, and how PPRTA currently has enough funds in their contingency reserve. City of Colorado Springs has asked for some. this would be a total ask of 1.1 million. 1.2 million, sorry. So, I put in there why they're asking for this request now. One, they need to get started on the design. So they need to get that design contract underway. But in order to get that design contract underway, they need to know what direction they're going for construction. In order to have that, they need to know what their funding source would be. So, for example, maybe they could construct part of it now. When they have more funding, they can construct more later. However, that'd be more expensive rather than doing it all at once. They could go out for a loan. However, again, with PPRTA funds in the past, it's been shown you can't reimburse interest rates. So it'd cost more for the city again to take out a loan, have to pay those interest rates on their own. Plus, they'd prefer not to go into that debt service. So that's why they're asking. And again, it's low risk because it's early in this PPRTA 3 period. So let's just say they don't get 600,000 per year. Instead of it going into 2029, it could go into 2030. But again, that's only year 6 of this new program. There has been a precedence in the past. Green Mountain Falls asked in 2022 for advancement beyond just 1 year. And so that was granted back then. So it's a small jurisdiction. I know it's advancing money from allocations, but this is what the city would like to do, and they think it's best way to fund this project to move forward. So with that, I'll leave it for questions.
Any questions for Karen?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Brandy.
Karen, how long do you think the design's gonna take for this?
We think 6 months. So we're hoping to get the design contract in place in January and advertise this summer for low water season next fall.
Not being an expert in this particular realm, why does it take 6 months?
It could take shorter, but there's utility coordination and it'd be a little bit faster. But that's just a rough estimate on getting that design done and making sure also they look at all the options to reduce the cost. So right now they have a current direction that they like to go, but they're also exploring other ways that could reduce that cost. So it could be less than 6 months.
Are they comfortable that the temporary solution is gonna last between now and this time next year?
The engineering firm says that the temporary solution is good. There's always a risk that that storms could hit at a certain capacity that would be a risk. However, this needs to be during low water of the creek. And right now they don't think that getting this design done that fast. They had looked at getting the design done quickly, getting it under contract, getting it constructed this fall. But again, that would be rushing it and they'd worry about additional costs for that. And also getting it through this contracting and funding process would be difficult to get this constructed this low water season.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, we want it done faster if we're advancing the money, and I'm sure so would they. But yeah, you're right. There's probably a lot of utilities coordination that needs to take place over there. So thank you for answering my questions.
My question is that wall gonna last that long? And then the second question is, how did it get this bad without somebody knowing about it? I'm just looking at this picture of the thing here.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the other pictures, there's evidence of wear and tear on that wall.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, preventative goes a long way sometimes, but.
I think that would be moving forward. What they're looking at is they are moving forward with some asset management. I think this came up when we did the temporary repair. just wasn't being inspected to the level it should have, and seeing that collapse. This is, again, because they're seeing some undermining with the creek. They want to make sure that it does get fixed before it fails. They do think that temporary repair, though, will solidify the wall in the short term.
Any questions for Karen?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. My question actually kind of parallels your question, looking back in time. I know that we all know Manitou had some terrible flooding that is post Waldo Canyon. And I guess my question is amplifying maybe on the chair's question. Is this possibly related to some of the federally funded FEMA damages that we know Manitou sustained over the years? And I guess where I was going with that then, if yes, are we too late? Is that, I don't know if there's a statute of limitations where we can go back and say, hey, this happened as a result of the federally declared disaster. Let's go hit up the feds for 75%, I think is a standard hit on this kind of stuff. I don't know, but I'd like to have a clear answer before I vote if this has a tie to other monies like the federal money that are out there.
Okay, I think I can put that down to investigate. I don't think we have an answer at this time. Yeah, I think we'd have to look back at when the federal declaration was made and what were the parameters around that.
I hope that hopefully that's a fair question. I hate to use our money if the feds with bottomless buckets of money that they can print could instead just replace theirs or come back to us happily for a 25% match on a 75% federal grant to fix it because it's federally eligible.
Yeah, I'd have to look at when that disaster declaration took place. When's the time frame that you can put in it, and has the city already spent all the money that's allocated, and is there anything else to be allocated? Okay, so we need to.
The answer is probably no, but I'd just like to.
And I would say, I know you don't want to vote on this until you know the answer. However, you could still vote yes, but we'd like you to investigate this in the meantime and come back to us with can that still work? Because I think the city would love to have future money and would love to have an additional source to use so that they could use their.
Oh, and I'd love to see it. I'd love to have more money. Yeah.
Yeah, and Denise is here, so I'm going to let Denise Howell see if she can answer this question.
Good afternoon, Denise Howell, the City Administrator of Manitou Springs, and thanks for the question. We have closed all the FEMA grants.
Oh.
We closed them out about a year ago, and I believe you only have about 60 to 120 days to identify exactly, and then you can add after that, but we have closed everything out.
Okay.
Plus, I'm not sure that we can say that this was due to the flooding. I think that would be maybe a stretch because it really became an impact over the last, 8 months, 10 months, that it really started doing the damage. So I think that would be a stretch to do.
Good answer. I'll withdraw my opposition. Thank you.
Any other questions for Karen on Manitou project? Okay. So I have a vote to approve or make a recommendation to the board. Rich? Okay.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay? Okay. Unrelated question. What happened to the repair on the wall that was up under 24 that was collapsing and all the damage? Does that get fixed?
I'm gonna let Denise come up, or Ben Schmidt, city engineer and
The pictures I saw
public services director.
looked pretty dangerous. So I was just curious if it ever got resolved.
Yeah, and you're speaking about the repair by Waldo or by Williams Canyon, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so CDOT has come and done a number of iterative steps and looking at the permanent one, but so far during the last storm events, it's held up pretty well. And the armoring has worked as it was supposed to.
And the guardrail's in good shape and somebody hits it, it's not going to damage it or any of that?
It appears to be.
Okay.
So we thank our partners at CDOT.
Yeah, that looked like the only way to fix that was do that the whole hill. It just didn't look like you could drive a post deep enough in the dirt there to, but anyway, all right. Well, thank you for that update. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we'll move on. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Manitou. City of Colorado Springs property change order and property acquisition report. The report is in your folder or in your material. Any questions for any of the member governments? Okay. City of Colorado Springs Powers North reimbursement update. Any questions for Josh on that? When are they gonna, and I haven't been up there in a month or two, but when are they gonna start going north from 83 going north? Have they started doing any of that grading or working or clearing or any of that?
He's speaking of the mainline powers alignment.
Yeah.
That will be in a phase following what you'll see next. We're currently working with the Copper Ridge Metro District to advertise what we're referring to as the city bridges, which are the handful of bridges that will cross future powers. We're hoping to get those into construction in the next 6 months or so. So you'll start to see Flying Horse Club Drive over future powers, Ridgeline over future powers, and then another trail bridge over future powers in construction by next spring, hopefully.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. El Paso County monthly change order report. Any questions for Josh on any of that? Not seeing or hearing any. City manager's revised scope of pyramid contract. Any comments or questions, Karen? Was this a Karen from Nashville?
And this is mainly for information only. We just want to make sure that you knew for our maintenance contract, we had come and got approval for it. However, the scope for some of the roads has changed and the amount of roads being treated is a little bit less. So whatever roads aren't being treated this year, they plan to roll into next year's paving project. But I just wanted to be apparent with because you guys approved the contract for that.
Okay, thank you. On the so did you influence the revised list by all right. Thanks, Karen. Item number 9, administrative action reports, recent board actions. That's in your packet. Appointments, reappointment process of CAC members, Rick. Yes.
Excuse me, more water. With the CAC chair's approval, I asked the board chair and board vice chair if they were comfortable with the 4 2 at-large regular and 2 at-large alternate candidates for reappointment. If they were comfortable with those 4, and if they applied, that could we skip the advertising step? And they said yes. So now, as I will cover in my next item, all 4, the 2 at-large regular and 2 at-large alternates did apply by the deadline. And now we need to have that per board policy 23, the board subcommittee that reviews at-large, regular and at-large alternate candidates will need to have a quick little meeting probably next week. And that subcommittee is the board chair, board vice chair, and the CAC chair. The subcommittee can meet for a few minutes and vote a positive recommendation to the full board for all 4 of those candidates to be reappointed at the December board meeting. Right.
Any other questions? Okay. Item, was it 9B?
So as you can see on the memo on the screen, I just mentioned candidates 4, 5, 6, and 7, Brandy, Rich, Jeff, and Jamie, who have all requested reappointment, and we're expecting the board subcommittee to have a positive recommendation on those. I do have Carl Stang's reappointment letter that the Manitou Springs City Council approved him for another term. And Larry's candidacy is in the works with the Board of County Commissioners. Larry, feel free to comment. Steve Murray, I'm assuming his reappointment's in process over at the city, but the member government candidates are subject to the appointment or reappointment process at each member government. So Steve, Larry, and Carl are all subject to their respective entity reappointment processes, and of course, we've received Carl's approval. Questions on those information items?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Larry.
Rick, the county commissioners, I have not seen an official letter yet. At the last county commissioners meeting, they approved my reappointment to the PPRTA for 3 years.
Great.
So we'll just have to wait for the official letters from them.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Any questions on, further questions to Rick? Okay. Item 9C, CAC process for reviewing late arrival agenda items. Rick.
So I'll give the intro and then I'll turn it over to the chair. As a result of the issues that arose at last month's CAC meeting, I had several rounds of emails, what ifs, and what's the law, back and forth with the board attorney, Jennifer Ivey. She recommended a possible solution, which is that you've seen on your agenda 7C, D, E, and F. That's for any member government that does not have something submitted at the time that the agenda packet is put together, that put the phrase if necessary, and that covers us if we do not get a reposting before the 24-hour rule or after the 24-hour rule. It covers both. And then the second issue is timing. If the CAC wants to set an absolute deadline, and for that, I'll turn that back over to the chair. Jim, it's your turn.
Oh, thanks. So I wasn't here last week, but I did have a long last month, but I did have a long conversation with Larry and Rick, and I read the minutes really carefully about the concern. And Dave, correct me, but you were concerned about walk-ons in general. And in addition to, that's a separate thing than frequent walk-ons. So there were two issues in my book, and so on just walk-ons in general, I don't see how in this business you can not periodically or once in a while have a walk-on. You don't know what you're doing when you get into construction. Those who were around, remember Colorado Avenue expansion, they uncovered a whole bunch of wood, rubber tires out there. It cost us millions to end up fixing those problems and to deal with it. You don't know that. And so I think not allowing walk-ons, in Larry and my opinion, would be not appropriate. The stuff happens. A lot of you are in that business and you know this stuff happens. So we're recommending that we allow them and we deal with it. And part of that dealing with it in terms of the notification part, we've addressed in the agenda thing that the lawyer just suggested, that instead of just having those that have definite inputs, list them all, and then that solves the 24-hour thing. And it was a recommendation that she did not make the policy, she just recommended it. Rick and Larry and I talked about it a couple of times, and we think this is a viable solution in terms of the notification, the 24-hour notice thing, is that if something comes up. Now, that doesn't take away from each entity needs to make a concerted effort to provide the information as soon as they can. But if they don't, then they still need to get it to Rick so he can get it out to all of us. So when we come to the meeting, we're prepared to discuss any issues that might be associated with that. So that's the purpose of this letter. And Larry and I's recommendation to you guys is that we allow it. But we try to minimize it. Now, if we have an entity, it's occurring most often, then I think it warrants discussion with that entity, whether it's a staffing issue, whether it's an ignorance issue, or whatever the case might be. But that's not really something that should be a discussion that should take place in a public forum, in my opinion. And Larry agrees with me on that. And so that would be the PPRTA staff and the member government that would participate in that environment. So that's kind of where Larry and I are coming from, and the recommendation to you guys. So I'll open it up for, Larry, you got anything you want to add?
No, pretty well covered.
We'll open it up to you guys for comments.
Question.
Go ahead.
Is that a motion from you and a second from Larry for us to discuss and vote on, or
No, just opening up, it's discussion.
just discussion?
Yeah,
Okay, just wanted to be clear.
So and I don't see anybody online have any opinions or thing? Not seeing any
Yeah.
hands raised.
Yes, I have lots of opinions, but we'll leave it to a minimum. I don't agree. I think they should have their items in 24 hours before the meeting. Having been in construction for almost 25 years now, I never had terms in my contracts that I had to pay essentially upon finding a problem. There's always, a net 30, net 60. I don't understand these emergencies because things are happening and they're moving forward, but at no point in time did I have a contractor tell me within 2 hours of a meeting, I just had this side of the trench fall in and you need to get me payment in 24 hours. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And you should be able to get your items in within 24 hours. That's an easy cutoff. And I don't think any entity should get into the habit of missing that cutoff. So I can't imagine an emergency that would take place that you couldn't work through this with your finance department. And again, I don't know that anybody has net 15-day terms that they couldn't get it to the next meeting and have the conversation. And if those are the kind of contractors you're working with, I would start rewriting your contracts because that's not doing you any favors. So I'm not comfortable with anything less than 24 hours. I just think it's good governance to give the community an opportunity to look at it, to give, my fellow members of this committee an opportunity to look at it. And I don't think it's good practice to have things, essentially, as I like to call it, put on the dais and you get to vote in 5 minutes. I think the entities should be forward thinking, and if nothing else, rewrite your contracts to allow for this. But I've never found an emergency that needed to happen within 2 hours of the meeting, and I sat on the TAC for 6 years. So that's my input.
Okay, thank you, Brandy.
Hey,
Dave?
Never without an opinion. I'll echo, I think, what Brandy was saying. I like her point about the 5 minutes. Let me take it to the absurd and extreme, if I may, and then walk the group back in. So the fix that we have here that Miss Ivy consented, or I guess supports, and was developed by staff, I'll frame it that way deliberately, that now changes our agendas forever, is totally within. It's kind of like the earlier question about, is it legal? And because we can, does that mean we should? That's kind of a parallel question there. The bigger issue, I think, to Brandy's 5-minute point, let me take it to the absurd and extreme for a second. This is absurd, and it's meant to be. 5 minutes before the meeting today, any member agency could come bolting in the door with a change order for $8.6 million. Slap it in front of us, because they've got their hair, whatever the issue is, there'll be issues in the future. I don't like the possibility. It's absurd. It's extreme. I told you that at the outset, but it is within the realm of the rules as we would change them today with this new agenda. I don't like the transparency. I don't like the look of it. I don't know if Brandy, if that's where you were going with that 5-minute comment that you made, but 5 minutes before the meeting, you could walk in with an unlimited request, declare it's urgent and it's important, and maybe use the E word, emergency. I would offer, if it's that big and that opaque, not transparent, doggone it, we're not going to handle it today. We'll declare a special meeting 25 hours and 1 minute from now, and we'll do it that way. We'll do it by calling emergency session. But I don't think that that revising the agendas because it's legal and we can does not mean in my mind that we should. I just don't like the notion you can come in with any size number of urgent work 5 minutes before the meeting and then push it through without any explanation. I would vote no, unless somebody can explain that would never happen.
Just, Mr. Chair, I kind of have to agree with them because I don't see anything that we do as a red phone issue. And that's what we're basically doing. If we're giving them less than 24 hours, then we're talking about a red phone issue. And I don't know if I don't see it necessary. Thank you.
All right, Phil, let's go to, Carl, and then Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a point of clarification here, and maybe starting with Rick. So for something to make it into the packet that you normally send out, that's a week out before the meeting, correct?
6 calendar days.
6 calendar days, so effectively a week. And so are we talking about 5 minutes, 24 hours, or 6 days, right? So are we comfortable with somebody, an entity bringing something within that 6 to 24 hour period as a walk-on, and that's okay? Or is it, after the 24 hours, it's not palatable?
Yep. And I can't answer that exactly, but it seems to me that this meeting convenes at 1:30 the first Wednesday of the month. If you can get it to Rick before 1:29 or 1:31 the day prior, 24 hours, I'm totally fine with that. That gives us 24 hours notice. Rick can put the paper on the bulletin board. It's legal, it's visible, it's transparent. I'm totally comfortable with that. I don't like it. I prefer a week, but I can live with 24 hours. I can't live with less than 24 hours without convening a special session of this group because it's that important. And we can do that, but I can't imagine a scenario where we'd want to look like we're pushing something through, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because we're good for it. I just don't like the perception. I don't like the opacity of it. This is a transparent organization, not an opaque organization.
Rich, let me just comment, then I'll come back to you. I'm not in favor of somebody walking in the last minute, a contractor come in here and I need $8 million. That hasn't happened. I think what I've seen and what I remember, and I've been around a while, is that there is a change in the contract that was discovered, and they've done their work, they put together their paperwork, and they've got to get it done or the contract expires. They've got to extend the contract or whatever the case might be. It came up. Somebody walking in the door with a large contract like that is unvetted by the agency or somewhere else, I wouldn't be in favor of that either. Anyway, Rich?
I would say I'd be hard pressed to come up with a situation where it's going to happen, but it's not to say it's not going to happen. So I think I'm on board. As the CAC, we could say we're not comfortable with it. We could take a vote on it and say we need to postpone it. We need more information, whatever we need to do. But if we're comfortable with it, we can go ahead and pass it and get it on its way to help out the organization. So I would likely vote for it personally.
But that begs the question, Rich, how much time have you given or been given to get comfortable with it? And that's not specified in what's in front of us today. It literally could be sitting there waiting for you when you walk into the meeting.
And it depends on the issue, quite honestly, Brandy. I'm not sure I could answer every case right now. It could be something very simple. It could be something pretty complex. And I think we'd have to weigh each situation individually.
Larry?
And I think you made a good point is that, you know, we have to weight each one of these situations individually. And if we're not comfortable with them, you know, as far as having them, I don't think it will happen to where someone will walk in when we have our meeting at 1:30. Well, I shouldn't say I don't think it will happen. You never know, you know, as things go. But I don't think we'll have a situation where we have a entity walk in at 1:30 on our meeting day and say, hey, I have this that I need to have acted on today. You know, something like that, I would be in favor of, you know, postponing it or voting against it. But I still think we need to allow some flexibility to the member entities that sometimes there will be a time where it won't be available within the 24 hours. But they do need to have it acted on. And we only meet once a month. Yes, I agree. But I don't think it becomes more difficult if we ask for a special meeting. Because if we do, all of us may not be available. You know, whatever day it is, all of us may not be available. We've got this date on our calendars and we know that we need to work toward whatever projects that are presented to us. And so what Jim and Rick and myself and the attorney came up with was an alternative to not having to have a special meeting or anything of that nature. But what we're also not is we're not encouraging these entities to come every month and give us these extra special things. You know, it's still going to be an emphasis of they need to get this information into Rick, you know, by his deadline so he can get it into the package that is sent out to us either by email or in the mail. It just gives the entities, it gives the CAC another alternative if we need to use it. You know, if we need to use it. And like it says in here, if somebody starts abusing it, then staff is going to sit down with that entity and say, hey, guys, you know, what is going on here? And we need to get this resolved. So it's not an open window. It's another method by which we can handle projects when we need to within the monthly meeting that we have.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I've got one more. So PPRTA is a body made up of elected officials. PPRTA is a governmental entity. And one of the parts about being the government is you just have to provide more time and more transparency to the public. 24 hours is not that much time. And I'm never going to be comfortable with anything less than 24 hours because this isn't your organization. This isn't my organization. This is the community's organization. And our job is to be a steward of laws that are in place. Like I understand somehow an attorney has decided that this is okay, but having been told this my entire, you know, career, I don't think it's okay. And I don't think it fits within the transparency that the public is expecting from us. And I think all the other governmental entities have to abide by this rule within the framework that they have when they take it to their counselors or their city council members, their county commissioners, their board of trustees. I don't understand why they can't give the same courtesy to the CAC. So I will not be supporting this.
Kathy?
My impression with this topic in general is that the 24-hour reporting is a byproduct of a frequent flyer bringing stuff in at the last minute or giving partial information, and then meeting day or the afternoon before we're getting materials that we don't have appropriate time to review to feel like we're making a responsible decision. So for me, I'm not as convinced that the 24 hours is really the issue as really, you know, maybe there are instances where something comes up last minute that are unavoidable. But for me, the bigger issue is when we're not getting materials consistently ahead of time so that we can review them.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I guess my perspective is it imposes having, even the 6 days, 6 calendar days in advance, imposes a certain discipline. Everybody's busy, all right, and sometimes things just come up. But if the expectation is that it needs to be in within 6 days, or it's not going to get on the calendar, I think that forces people to cover the obligation and to meet the obligation that the public expects of us. To my mind, it comes back to feeling like we're doing our due diligence, and I'm not sure anything within 24 hours we can say realistically to the public that, we've really looked at this thoroughly, or at least had present that appearance.
Okay. Barb?
I guess my only question is, because I take all the comments sincerely that have been made around the table, but is this perhaps more of an issue for the board to give us guidance versus us accepting things to present to them? Is this really an issue that we should get guidance on from our governing board as than us taking on making a decision about this of things that we're presenting to the board? So I just raise it from that perspective.
And good point. And I think that they would give us that guidance, and this was only a proposed recommendation. You don't like it and vote it down, we come up with something else. Go ahead, Rick. Ed.
No, I was really,
I was just going to, I don't disagree with some of the comments. But I think Rich made the point is it's kind of, it depends on what the circumstances are. And we've had a couple in the last 6 months or so that have come through where it was a fairly much an emergency, that something came up and they had to do that. They couldn't wait a month. Not everybody has the finances to support a large thing, if something comes up. So, I mean, there are circumstances. And so we just threw this out there from our perspective. And Rick, can you, before I come back to you, Rick,
okay.
Was there some discussion somewhere about whether or not the CAC needs to meet that state 24-hour public notice requirement?
Yes, the 3-part answer, Jennifer Ivey, the board attorney, has said on occasion and recently, it's a gray area as to whether or not it applies to advisory boards that don't have approval process. Number 2, she said it's a gray area. And number 3 is I asked her to review the board minutes, the draft board minutes from the board meeting where she mentioned this. And I'll quote from the draft, which she revised her comments in the draft board minutes. Ms. Ivey noted that the CAC is an advisory committee and subjects itself to the same requirements for adequate public notice as the board, but is not vested with any delegated authority to approve contracts. It makes recommendations to the board. So you can interpret from that, what I interpret from that is back to her first couple of comments, it's a gray area and it's a question as to whether or not the 24-hour public notice law applies to the PPRTA CAC.
So the law is one thing, practicality and common sense is the other. And all your comments are well taken, is that if it's a complex project and you bring it in here at the last minute, it's not right that we should have to look at that. That we ought to have plenty of notice to become ourselves informed so we can provide our input, collective input to that process. So it's, the question on the 24-hour was, in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, but we've been following the state requirement of 24-hour notice, which is the legal notice of having a public meeting. But we're not a decision-making body. And so that we don't fall under that because we don't make a decision. We only make recommendations. And so, but is that a good guideline to follow? Yeah, probably so, I think. But are we required? No. So it would vary by circumstance, in my opinion. But anyway, Ed?
I just think that I've always looked at our responsibility, not only to the public, but also to the board, to do the footwork, do the background work for the board,
Yeah.
so that they know when we send them a recommendation, they can have a lot of confidence and faith in it. Well, if we have to make decisions based on a whim, then we're going to lose our credibility. And I think that that there aren't enough occasions where, like I said, a red phone issue comes up, that we need to give them less than 24 hours to do their job. And because then they're putting us at risk of not doing our job. For us to do our job, we need them to do their job within the time frame. I yield.
Okay. Good point. All right. So, oh, Dave?
Just one final question and one final point, and I'll shut up, I promise. A question for Rick is, and well, the other Rick in the room, about 3 Richards in the room, I guess. But the question that Mr. Hoover brings up, I think, is a really valid one. If we had to, so let me throw out a scenario that I think I'd like to understand better. If we had an issue that came in, a last-minute hair on fire issue, and we decided that we'd rather take the time that Rick talks about, let's review it thoughtfully, carefully, and give a highly credible recommendation to the board. Is there time built into your agenda to where, here it is, Wednesday afternoon at 1:29 in the afternoon, this is the worst possible case, we get a emergency request. Could we reconvene 24 hours later and still give you time to get our next day recommendation to the board, the way you structure your packages and your agendas?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the B part answer is Jennifer Ivey, the board attorney, has said there's no legal requirement that the CAC must meet and make a positive or negative recommendation. So in your instance, your example, the member entity could say, this is of such urgency, we don't want to wait on the CAC.
Mm-hmm.
We want this to skip the CAC and go to the board. So I'm not trying to be confrontational.
No.
Sharing an option that she mentioned to me.
And that has happened. We have had issues that have not come to us, that have gone directly to the board.
Yeah, and I totally respect that, understand that, and there may be once every 5 years that'll happen. Let me maybe just leave you with a parting thought of a real live story from my past. Some years ago, I'll leave the names out to protect the guilty, but there's a large water district, large water agency, I'll put it that way, in the Denver area, that on a certain, I'm not making this up, on a certain December 23rd, posted a $250 million, I said right, a $250 million bond issue, and they pasted it with Scotch tape. I saw it on the inside. This is December 23rd. It's snowing outside, for a 24-hour notice on Christmas Eve deliberately. I'm not making that up. Nobody saw it. Nobody knew of it. Now, fast forward into the future, there are thousands of people that are saddled with millions of dollars, $100 million in debt, as a result of the fact that no public people ever saw that Scotch taped piece of paper to the door. That's absurd. I was outraged by it, and I don't ever want to be part of an agency that would even come close to allowing something remotely similar to happen. So I'll be voting no, but in the back of my mind, that's a true story. It does, it will, it can happen. Thank you.
Yeah, Larry, go ahead. Wait a minute,
just-
hang on, let Jeff.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I really like Barb's suggestion. I think this is impactful potentially to the board. And I think it would be appropriate that they weigh in on whether or not this is an appropriate policy.
Yeah, I expect that. And that was what I would expect from us making this recommendation. So so that's where we're headed.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
There.
And I'm just going to follow up with Dave's example. Compared to us, as Jim has indicated, is it, in your particular example, that was an approval board. In our particular case, we are just an advisory.
That's fair.
And so that is a little bit of a different situation. Yeah, I'd be mad with what they did too, but that is the big difference, is that we're just advisory. The PPRTA board is the actual approving authority.
And I agree with Rick Hoover's comment in that we have the board, we have a lot of credibility with the board. They depend on us to do what we do, to have these conversations, to make those recommendations and to air things out. And so Larry and I do the best we can when we go to the board meetings to, in a subject like this, it's not just a line item on the agenda. I elaborate on those things and I explain what our discussion was and what was going on and this, that, and another. Some of we may make a positive recommendation, but here's some of the comments that we were on that were concerns about this. So those are all relayed to the best of our ability when we do present the CAC results to the board. So this is good conversation. So Rick.
I just want to reiterate that I think you have both options. I think you can decide this for yourself, or you can ask the board for input.
All right, well, let's one more. Okay.
My thought on this, based on what Brandy said and what we've heard from Rick and Dave, our credibility is at stake. If we have things come in and we haven't vetted it properly and it goes to the board, are they going to respect future decisions that we pass on? And I think that's my biggest concern is, I understand emergencies happen, but at the same time, we have to maintain our credibility here. And I know we're just advisory, but I'm not comfortable with just saying, okay, this was emergency. They need it. We're going to approve it to the board to decide. Then we're throwing the whole burden on the board.
Can I just say one quick thing? Just to follow on to your comment. This does not preclude the CAC from taking an emergency item that they bring in at the last minute. And if we are not, satisfied with what they are presenting, does not preclude us from, number one, voting against it. Number two, putting it off for 30 days till the next month.
Right.
So that, those two items are still available to the CAC, even if we have some sort of policy like this, is that we will still have the capability of not approving it or
Not accepting the walk-on.
not accepting the walk-on and, putting it off for 30 days till the next following month.
Good point.
So based on your comments, Larry, what that leads me to believe from that is we don't really need this policy, because we retain that right to even put this forward. We retain that right to make that decision at the meeting.
Okay, that's a fair question. So that kind of leads to the point I was getting ready to make. So rather than make a recommendation on a policy, is we share this conversation, we share our concern, and let the board give us the guidance on what they want us to do. And if they don't want us to are the, and again, I think several people have said it. We still have that responsibility and that choice of not accepting it. And so if they come in here with their hair on fire and we can't validate that and we don't believe everything is what it is, we can still say we're not going to accept it and review it. That entity could go around us and go to the board and present that at the board. That's their prerogative to do that. Is it standard procedure? No, but it's their prerogative to do that. So maybe I should suggest this in the interest of time, is that I just share this conversation with the board, and that we attempted to have some policy or something to look at in terms of what we wanted to do, and let them give us the guidance on what they want us to do. In terms of adding these things to the agenda, I don't see where it hurts to have it on there. No big deal. And so we don't need to take that up the chain to anybody up there. We just don't hear, and this covers us if we need it. But again, then we make that decision. So would that be acceptable with everybody? Those online, any problems or concerns with that?
No, it'd
Just
be nice to get feedback from the board.
Okay. Yeah, it would just be information, not a recommendation.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. All right, then we'll treat it that way. And so we'll scratch this without having to take a vote and just say, the direction of the CAC was we need some guidance. We'd like to know. We had the discussion, and let them tell us what they want us to do. And the lawyer is there in the meeting. Ivy's there, so she's part of it. Yes, ma'am.
I would just make one other suggestion, and, we had a particular example that stimulated some of this conversation, and sometimes these issues are brought about by turnover of staff,
right,
lack of staff, size of the entity. So you all know what I'm talking about. So I think maybe it's appropriate that in Rick's court, at the commencement of every new year, that there's a little bit of time allotted with member organizations to refresh their existing staff on expectations.
Rick?
Certainly, no problem.
That's probably a good idea. And you pointed it out, and we all recognize that smaller entities are more vulnerable to this kind of stuff than the larger entities are, just because of depth and that kind of thing. So, okay, all right. Well, enough said on that. That all right with you? Okay. Okay. Moving on to next month, any agenda topics for the next meeting? Anybody got any burning desires something to be covered? All right, so let's put it at the top of the agenda. So we
Holiday party?
yeah, I thought Rick said he was going to host it. Oh, he's got to get permission of the my manager said we couldn't. So, all right, any communications? Anybody that's not related to the CAC or anything? Anybody want to talk about anything? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to remind everyone that next Thursday, November 13th at 10 o'clock, we'll be hosting a media event at the Circle Drive Bridge project. We've dialed in some good weather, and I think we're going to get some student musicians from Harrison High School. It's going to be a good time to celebrate the opening of the second pair of bridges for Circle Drive. The construction will continue for another few months, but opening that second set, putting everyone on new bridges is an exciting moment. We'll park at the Coles, and then you'll see where we've got everything set up.
Cole's parking lot. Yeah, the first one was good. It was great. Harrison got band guys really enjoyed being out there and walking up the street and being one of the first group to walk across that bridge. So that was fun. All righty, Rick.
The booklets that are at your place just arrived to me free, so I am offering them to you free. You're welcome to take it or leave it, and I'll pick them up if you don't take them with you. Take them home.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, Rick. I mean, Ed, you've been on this long range transportation. I know Brandy has too, over the years, and I don't recall that I've seen anything like this that actually documents the transportation plan. So I think the public notice on the transportation planning process has been much better. And to see something like this that gets it out in front of the public versus just being a document on the shelf somewhere, I think's great. So anyway,
Doctor's offices and
Ye-
other waiting rooms.
well, yeah, you got to the waiting rooms, exactly. And put the PPRTA annual budget with them, annual plan with them. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn, Barb? Room for adjournment, second? We're adjourned. Thank you all. Appreciate good conversation, everybody.